Hello everyone, Corpse here bringing you another video tutorial. Today's video tutorial is on how to widen the BF4 multi-theme. As a quick little disclaimer, uh, you will need two programs. One is a code editor. I recommend using VS Code. This is 100% free. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of plugins and themes and whatnot for it. So definitely worth taking a look at. Uh, this is what I'm going to be using. I love it better than Notepad++ or Sublime Text and many of the others. Another thing you're going to need is an image editor. Here I have Fireworks, but there are other programs, but you will need one. But I will show you how to sort of get around using an image editor if you don't have one. So, though I recommend modifying the images, I'll show you how to get around without using it. Another thing I want to disclaim is I have done this theme modification many times. Um, but even then, for this video, I did write myself a little cheat sheet that probably makes absolutely no sense to anybody but me. But that's fine because I'm a very confusing person. I'm used to it. I've known myself long enough. Um, but the way I've come up with a lot of stuff is just by coming in here, right clicking, and selecting everything to get modified. This video is also not going to show you how to make this theme full width because, well, that's just too much work and too much time. I'm just going to show you how to get wider. So that's enough talking. Let's get started. Well, I'll be talking there. So first thing you're going to want to do is open up your theme, come into the BF4 underscore multi folder, and you're going to want to open up the theme dot underscore funk dot php, the theme dot php, and also come into the style and open up the style dot css and Nano Scroller dot css. Those four files. You're going to need to open some images, so just be ready to go to the image folder there. So let's open up our code editor, and we're going to start off in the two CSS files because that's what we're going to be modifying mostly. And me personally, I'm going to remove this background image and this background image right here. And I'll show you what I meant by this is a background image. We come here. I'm not removing any code here. All I'm doing is just canceling out the section that I don't want read. I saved that, and now let's hit Control F5. And now you notice no more background. It's blank. Now we want to come up here and do the same. So all I'm doing is adding an asterisk and forward slash. So it's forward slash asterisk, and then at the end where I want to cancel out the stop the code or like continue back with the code, you do star forward slash. So now that we've done those two, I can Control S that and Control F5, and no more background image. So we come down here and we want to head to here's the header logo. Okay, this is what we want to start with, the container. We're going to bump this up by 300. So do 1280, from 980 to 1280. This header logo, let's bump this up to 1268. Main, we're also going to do to 1280. So the container, that is this large section. This is the header logo. And I believe main, if I remember right, is for the navigation right here. So we save that, hit Control F5, and you notice this shifted to the left. Oh, Control F5, and there we go. So this has gotten wider. The footer hasn't. This hasn't, and the image here moved. So before we go any further, let's do this. Let's come to the container and let's add a background color. And we're going to go with let's do 08090B. Hit Control S and we come back. Voila, we have a background. This just makes everything look worse. But it does give the footer and all that stuff a background once again. Well, let's center up this image. To do that, that's where you have to come in and modify the image. Since it's 968, we need to add 300. So make that 1258. But notice how that stretched that? So what I'm going to do is just canvas size. 1268. Control S that. Hit Control F5. And now that's back centered. Now we have to adjust this. So that's going to be the nav wrap, nav line, nav foot, and orange. So we just come back in here and scroll down till we see nav wrap, nav line, nav foot, and orange. And let's get rid of that red before it drives me nuts. Yes, I know this file is completely chock full of it. You guys know who you are that do this, but that's called white space, and it drives me nuts. So nav wrap, we're going to add that, add 300 to it, so 1268, another 1268. Right here, we need to bump this to 1268 and 1268. Control S. We come back here, see how everything's centered? Everything should shift left if I did it right. And it did. Okay, here's one thing that you guys may notice with it all shifted to the left net. Well, how would you get this properly done? Well, of course, you would just come in and modify the images so it is like I did with the logo, the width. But of course, you would do image size instead of changing the canvas. But I'm going to show you a little trick. Let's minimize this and bring up this. So let's scroll back up to nav line. Let's come up here, background, and we're going to background size, and we're going to select cover. So now we come back to here, nav foot, background, size, cover. And again, background size, cover. We hit Control S, then we come back. And there you go. Now it goes all the way across. It looks like how it was without modifying any themes. Do I recommend doing it through CSS? No, I prefer you to modify the images, but I know some people don't have an image editor. So this is a way to do it without having the need of an image editor. And with the BF4 multi up here, you didn't have to resize that. You could have left it because it was in the center already, even at its size. So that would have been fine. Now you can stop here and go with how it looks now. I think it looks sort of fine the way it is, but me personally, I would stretch these. So let's get into that. I just want to check something. Oh, I missed center wrap. Gotta change that to 1268 as well. So now that's there. Let's get into the Nano Scroller. So we come in here. It's going to be at the very bottom. The only thing you have to change is right here, the class Nano. You want to change that from 318 to 418. Why 418? Well, of course, you're going to want to change it to whatever you want math-wise. But I've added 100 pixels, 300 pixels total to this. There's 3 of these. So that's 100 pixels for this, 100 for this, 100 for this. It's just math. 100 times 3 gives you 300. How much wider did I make this theme? 300 pixels. So if I made this just say 500 pixels wide, I would need 500 divided by 3, which I don't think comes out very well. So now that we've done that, let's come back to the editor. Control S that. Let's refresh. Nothing's changed. Okay, so let's come back here. Let's go to the style.css. And in here, we need to find Nevo. Control NEFO. There we go, right there. And again, we're going to need to change this to 400. And you're going to want to do the same to YouTube cell, 400. This NIFO gets used twice. So this is 100 times 2, and then YouTube cell, 100. So that's 300. And what I mean by that is this section is NIFO, this section is NIFO, this section is the YouTube. So 1, 2, 3. On some themes, if you've been to other clients' websites, you've probably seen the same thing, but without this center section. Instead, they had some sort of image here. And that's where I gave a little bit more to the left and right and put in a custom like logo right there. And you can do that yourself. So we come back here. Yep, saved. Let's control F5 this. Now you notice, well, these are bigger, sort of. Now it just looks weird. It's all off-centered, off-size, whatnot. That's okay. Now we have to go into the theme function file. So what you want to do is come in here and do a search for content boxes. Once you've come down to this is line 201. You'll see 968. Well, we need to bump that to 1268. And while we're here, in this first div on 205, you'll see it's 321 for the width. We need to increase that by 100. So that would be 421. You scroll down and you'll see the same exact thing, but this says 320. We're going to bump that to 420. Scroll down and here's the YouTube section. And this one is at 321. We need this at 421. We hit Control S. Let's save. Come back here, Control F5, and voila. Now that's done. That looks good. So that is pretty much it. If you want to leave it at there. But I want to take it one step further. Let's widen these blocks. To do that, we need to go back into the style.css. And we're going to do a search for period block. And here we go. And again, here's the images that we're going to need to modify and whatnot. And you'll see the different widths. We need to modify block foot all the way to block. So what we're going to do is just change this. Let's widen it from 186 to 220. I think all blocks, all side blocks should be a minimum of 220 for everything. So let's do 220 pixels. And again, we're going to have to do that for the block foot. And we can say that, but we're going to have a problem, just like we did before. Control F5. You'll notice that these images don't go. Again, I would recommend modifying these images so they're 220 pixels wide. But for those that don't want to do it, just come up here, background, do background size again, and cover. Let's just do this. Control C right there. And last one. Control S. Come up, Control F5. And there we go. Now the blocks are 220 pixels wide, which gave us an extra 34 pixels. And all the images are done without modifying any images. Now, let's add some uh, little pizzazz to the background there. So we're going to want to go back to container. So that's hashtag. There it is right there. So what we're going to want to do is add a border. So we're going to do border. And let's do border left. And we're going to want to do 2 pixels. Solid. And we're going to do color. What do I have? 252. What is that? C36. Yep, that looks good. Oops. And just copy that, and we're changing that to right. And now the last thing we want to do is add a little bit of a glow. So like if we control S that right now and save it, you'll see now that there's a border. That looks good as is, but let's get closer to how that theme was originally. So we can come up here and let's add what is called a box shadow. Box, that's shadow. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start off with 0, space, 0, space, and now let's do 60 px, which is 60 pixels. And the color we're going to do is hashtag 353E4B. Control S and hit Control F5, and there we go. So that's getting close. Now let's go back to the theme. Let's bring this stuff back in and see what this does. Now, this should be that background image. If we look at the original, that's going to bring back this background image. So we hit Control F5, and there we go. And you can see we're covering up. It's no longer transparent, but I did that to eliminate that background image. So right here, but that gives you you could do a custom image up here or something like that. But again, preference, it's your choice. You can do whatever you want. You can remove the background color, and then you'll have to adjust, and you will need to adjust the background images. You'll have to widen this image and make sure the borders and all that line up, which I'm telling you right now is a pain. You'll have to do this one. And then on top of that, you'll have to do all these if you're going to use all these. But for my example, we're not using that. So let's get rid of the background here. I don't need this background changer. So that is simple to do. All you have to do is come in here and go to theme.php. And what you want to do is, let's just do a search. Oh, there it is right there. But you want to do a search for a switcher. So just, as you can see, it's right there. From this div, all the way to that div. So you're leaving the div class equals theme switcher and this closing div. Delete everything else. That looks like that. Control S. There we go. It's removed. Of course, you can do more changes to move this to the left or move this more to the left. That's up to you. As for me, this is good enough, but if I wanted to, I would go more at it. Of course, I would make a custom background image and I probably set it to fix. See how this one scrolls with that? Um, what I would do is come back to here and change this background attachment to fixed. Control S. Here, hit Control F5. And as you can see, as I scroll, the image stays. I prefer the background to stay so you don't get that ugliness that was showing up right here. And of course, with that one, you could do background size and you could always do cover. You notice that nothing changed there. But if I widen this theme, let's see if I can get that. See, that's what cover does. Especially without a repeating background image. Um, and this is set to no repeat. If we bring this back, probably won't make much of a difference because it's being covered up. Yeah, and you don't see it because it's covered up. So this could literally be removed, this whole section. If I was doing this, I would remove that, or at least just leave it. Leave it there. I would create my own background image or use a background image that can be tiled. I prefer tiled images. If you're going to do an image like this, make sure you fade it just right to the black background color. So if somebody does have a theme that monitor that is wider than your theme, as you can see, it actually fades off really nice into the background. Looks good. Just it's too narrow. So that's final touches. I am not going to go over that anymore. Um, I think I've covered everything. Widen blocks, widen the theme. Looks good. Good to go. So, yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to contact me over at the headshotdomain.net website or over at evolution-extreme.com in the forums there. If you're looking for somebody to do a full theme change for you, like modify this theme, I can do that for you. Just know if you request me to do it, it will cost you money. I do not do it for free. So there's that. And have at it. Good luck. And let's see what you do. Later.